Hello, everyone. I'm very grateful that you took the time to tune in to today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Listen, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real, relevant, and relatable content on today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. I am so honored to have with us today Jacquelyne Samuels and Katherine Lawrence. How are you ladies today?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. You guys look so wonderful over there in the same bubble. It's like I feel like I'm almost in person with that happening.
No.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on today. We're excited to be here.
I'm super excited to have you. Where are you all located since you're there together?
We're in Dallas. Actually, it's South Lake, Texas, but yeah, Dallas, Texas. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, how's the weather out in the Dallas, Texas area right now?
Hot.
Very hot, right?
It's hot. You can tell in Texas, like we're not ready for summer temps yet.
I know. And how hot can it get in Dallas? Because I know, certain areas it gets like over 100 and some degrees.
It can get that hot.
Yeah, I think we have over 90 days over 100 usually. It's a lot.
I've been in Dallas in the summer. Actually, I visited with one of my really good friends. Her name is Pat Smith. And
Pat.
So anyway, there it was beautiful, beautiful weather. But I was like, oh, people that have hot flashes, this is not a good situation.
You're right. That's an issue here.
Right. I was like, oh my goodness. But anyway, listen, everybody, as you're grabbing your virtual seats, I want you to come in quickly. Know that you are an important part of today's discussion. It's going to be an interactive discussion. So type your questions, ask anything that you have questions about while they're here. And definitely make sure that you send shout outs. You can donate to the Kim Jacobs Show. You can participate in any way that you choose, but most importantly, share the broadcast and let everyone be a part of today's discussion.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something? Say something too.
Oh, no, absolutely. I think the information is going to be so empowering that people will want their friends to know.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And as you can see, we have two women here, one African-American, one Caucasian, but both nutritionists. And they've come together to create an amazing nutrition program that is being taught in multiple countries. And now it's even been more expanded today because this is a part of CTR Media Network, which streams in 100 countries and 350 million households as well. So it's going even broader today. They've put their race aside, which do you know how difficult that is alone? Putting the race aside.
Yeah, everybody's giving us their opinion.
Yes. But all opinions are learning tools, if you let me say it like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can't be offended by them. You just have to learn from them.
Right.
I'm glad you all are here together using teamwork, different races, and representing one cause, which is how to focus on nutrition. So between the nutrition and the science and public knowledge, they've put it all together to kind of help build and bridge the gap. I would like to welcome both of you to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Now, what specifically even made the two of you in particular, each of you in your own different fields, your own world, you could have easily, you know how somebody says you could have chosen anything, anybody, but you chose each other. I would love to hear what caused the two of you to embark on this journey together.
Well, Jackie and I have been working together for a couple of years, and I think we've both taught each other a lot.
A couple of years?
Well, many years, about 7. And I've learned so much from Jackie, and it's opened my eyes. And I was on a health journey teaching nutrition classes, and then came upon some research that really changed my understanding about nutrition for different races. And I brought that to Jackie, and it's because we're so close. We have so much respect for her and her desire in her heart for the community. So it was kind of scary, and I brought it to her, and she was absolutely, let's do this. Let's get together on this and make something great. And that's kind of how it came together. Your version.
What's your version of the story, Jackie? Because everybody have their version. It's kind of like marriage. You'd be like, that's not how we met.
No, that's not. But Kim, what she said is accurate. But what's so funny is that I said yes, not knowing what I was saying yes to. Right. My yes to Katherine was predicated is predicated on my trust in her and my belief in what she does. Right. But I had absolutely no idea what I was about to walk into. And if I tell you that, even saying that I wouldn't take anything, the old saying say, I won't take nothing for my journey. Come on, because it has really, really opened up a door that I didn't even know existed in my own life. So, so she was asking me to do one thing, but, God meant for it to be something totally different.
Yeah.
And even more than what we could ever expect it to be.
And isn't that how God works? He allows our paths to connect with people, and we don't always know what the reason is, but there is a reason behind it. We just may only know in part, because we're like, what in the world am I connecting with Katherine for? And what am I connecting with Jacquelyne for? But you have no idea really how big the impact is going to be, or how impactful it's going to be to the world once you actually collide at the level that you two have.
And it would only work with his plan for this, because in the beginning, I was like, no, I'm not the right person to do this. Like, put this on somebody else's heart. And when I finally brought that to Jackie, she said, no, ma'am, like, you're the person to do this. We're going to do this together. And I kept talking about it. Like, I kept trying to just pass the information on for someone else. And God just wouldn't let me go. But Jackie respected that, and she answered that call, and then we concluded, like, well, we have to do this.
We have to do it.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like you two complement each other very well as well, because usually when you have like people that work together, there's sometimes like a power struggle. It's like, okay, I am here and you're here, versus we are lockstep and we're a team. And I really love the synergy that I'm already seeing between the two of you. I do know that you are more like the science behind everything, Katherine. So you're going to be telling us about the science perspective. And then Jacquelyne, if I'm understanding correctly, you're the person with feet on the ground and officially executing the plan. It's one thing to have a masterful plan, but somebody has to execute, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So together you all have a dynamic duo going on. So what we're going to do, everybody, I can already see comments coming in. Let's take a moment and acknowledge some of those. I see, this is great. Let's see. I see Virginia Rutherford Hall. You say, hey, love. Hey, girl. How are you? So glad that you tuned in today. And Vanita, let's see. Let me pop some of these comments up. Vanita says, good morning. Beautiful ladies all the way from Florida. She's visiting in from.
Hi.
Toya Bailey, she actually teaches financial literacy workshops, and I can imagine her partnering with you all on your projects. And she said, awesome topic. Awesome. And my mom said, good morning, ladies.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, in advance, Mom. Happy Mother's Day in advance. Okay. Let's see. Cynthia Lennox said hello and good morning as well. So glad to have you all, and you all keep your comments coming. If you do want to pop on the screen, say you want to come in as a guest and you want to join today's broadcast and the discussion directly with these powerful women, you can just copy and paste this link that I just put in the comment section. It'll bring you into our discussion. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. So we are going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to hear more from Jacquelyne and Katherine. When we come back, Jackie and Katherine, what I want us to talk about is the state of health in the African American community. So whichever one of you will talk about that, that's kind of what I want to talk about. We'll be right back.
When someone has lost a loved one, they want to know what exactly happened. They want to know, is the other person going to be held responsible? And they want closure. At Hunter and Everett, we help clients that have lost a loved one move on, and to do that with dignity and respect that they deserve.
Back, and we're talking with Jacquelyne Samuels and Katherine Lawrence today. So which one of you want to talk to us about the state of health regarding the African American community?
Well, I'll start. First of all, we know that the number one disease that's plaguing our community is heart disease. Yes, heart disease. That incorporates the high blood pressure, strokes. We know that cancer is an issue. Diabetes. Oh my God, diabetes. Alzheimer's. Do we just want to go down the entire list?
Yes.
And what's so sad, Kim, is that I believe there is a false sense of thinking that we're supposed to have to deal with these diseases as we age.
That's a myth, everybody.
It's a myth, and it's a lie. How about that? It's a lie.
Yeah.
But it's something that we have basically connected with, because in our communities, as we grow older, we've seen it in our families. And so there's this expectation, that we're going to have to deal with it one day, right? What I so appreciate, and I hope you don't mind me referencing God a whole lot, because
you can reference God all you want on this show, please.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll put everything down. I'm about to get comfortable. No?
Relax, sweetie.
But I believe that false sense of thought, I think that God has really taken and just turned that upside down as well, because now these same diseases are plaguing us as young African American men and women, and so we have to take our heads out of the sand, but we also have to know that these things can be prevented and they can be reversed if we take the actions that we need to take, right? I believe 1,400 people die on average daily in this country from heart disease alone. In our classes, and I just want to get a little personal, heart disease is what kept my father from living healthy before he died. The same was for his father. And I was thinking this morning on my way, I was like, I always reference my father and my grandfather, but it attacked my dad's brother. He died from a massive heart attack. My mother's brother, he died from a massive heart attack.
My grandmother died from a massive heart attack.
Come on through. Yeah. And so, and they were relatively young, they were relatively young. And so we have to step back and ask ourselves some hard questions. Is it something that I'm doing? Or more importantly, is it something that I'm not doing that's aiding and abetting this disease that has no place? Because it is not a part of the promise. And that we can't just keep saying I'm standing on the promises. You got to move your feet. You just can't stand.
Walk on the promises. Walk on the land. Get some steps in and all of that good stuff. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We can protect our hearts. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this with Katherine. But it's also become, and I'm going to use the word burden, but guys, I don't want you to, because burden, at first thought, we'll think of it as something that we don't want to do. But this has become a burden on my heart, because it's also the hardest thing to do is to talk to my community, okay? And I'm just going to reference it because this is something that's needed for all communities. But since we're talking about the African American nutrition, it's hard because it connects us. Food connects us. That's a part of our culture. Soul food. It's a part of our culture.
It's a part of our heritage. It's what we look forward to getting together and doing cookouts and soul food events. So it's a part of what happens. Yeah.
Right. So if someone comes along and says, you know what, you need to make some changes in this thing that you're so connected to, then it's almost received as, oh, so you want to eradicate my culture?
Right.
You know, you want to disconnect me from something that I've been connected to all of my life.
Right.
Get out of here, right? So
It's like that's not going to happen.
is not
Right.
going to happen. Absolutely. Or I'm going to die of something.
Oh, that's a common one. But
Absolutely.
even some of the things that we enjoy having, I'm speaking we, meaning African Americans, since I'm talking directly to you right now, Jackie, is if it's like certain things like macaroni and cheese and collard greens and different. It's not that it's a problem having some of those things. It's just a matter of how we prepare them, how we and how often we're eating them, different things. Because like I could eat macaroni and cheese frequently, but I don't that much because I know it's gonna sometimes if some of it might be too much for my heart to keep pouring pounds and pounds of cheese at that level. So but you're the experts. I'm here as the host today. Y'all talk about it.
No, but you're absolutely right. And you know, then is there a healthier way to enjoy, you know, what we love? I mean, can we at least explore that? Or, you know, instead of closing the door to the idea, can we
Right.
explore healthier versions of what we're connected to? You know, am I going to let my taste buds rule my health?
Well, okay, I do need to stop you for 1 second because I am guilty of this, and you all put it in the comments section if you do this. If I go to a restaurant and they have macaroni and cheese on the menu, I always ask the server, is it like grandma's baked macaroni and cheese with the orange cheese, not with the milk and the, I don't know, whatever other kind of cheese
Powder.
they're Parmesan. That's not what I'm talking about.
Right,
Yeah.
the good stuff, right.
Yeah.
Is anybody else guilty of that? Please put it in the comments section because I am.
Yeah.
You want to chime in on that?
Sure. Well, I mean, for starters, I'm originally from Louisiana, so I have a strong appreciation of all of these traditional soul foods because I grew up eating many of them. And I do want to clarify the nutrition and health is a problem across the board in our country. And because I saw someone ask, is that due to our nutrition? It's everyone's. I think what we're trying to do is raise awareness for how everyone in general can reduce their risk of heart disease, but also so for dentists, yes, nutrition definitely matters, but there's also some genetic differences with how African Americans process salt that dramatically increases risk. And so we're trying to raise awareness around that salt sensitivity, because I think that a lot of people will say, well, this is my heritage, my genetics, I'm just going to have hypertension or heart disease. And so we're trying to show there's an actual genetic difference, which makes nutrition even more powerful. Absolutely. Like that, there's a huge opportunity for people to make changes at home that can have a dramatic difference.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. I think we always have more influence on our health than we think.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're more in control than we think. And then even in MountSinai.org, I have an article here that it says research suggests African Americans may carry a gene that actually makes them more salt sensitive, increasing the risk of high blood pressure and heart disease. And African Americans are disproportionately affected by obesity overall and then they go on to among non-Hispanic Blacks and those that are older as well. But it's since 77% of women are overweight or obese, and that they're likely to have more diabetes than non-Hispanic whites. Wow.
So I can speak to that if you'd like me to elaborate on those a little bit.
Yes, please.
Okay, so that gene that they're talking about, so a Caucasian, for example, when I consume too much sodium, my body will release it through my sweat and urine. Someone of African descendancy from West Africa area specifically, which is about 90% of the African Americans here, what happens, it's a different gene. It's called RAAS, renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. And what happens is instead of excreting this excess sodium through urine and sweat, the kidneys actually retain it. And so what happens when the kidneys retain that sodium, it increases blood pressure. And if you think about the hot environment, in Africa. You need to hold on to that. That's the design, is to hold on to that. You wouldn't want to sweat out all that sodium.
Right.
And so it's this genetic difference that makes African Americans actually more salt sensitive. Which I think is important to know. It's not hypertension that's genetic. It's salt sensitivity. That's what's genetic. And so there's a lot of opportunities there to reduce sodium in the diet and do some other things that help to naturally lower blood pressure. So that there is a gene, and it's called the RAAS system. And it's a hormone system technically that does that. And then also, you were talking about obesity. There's a lot of new research coming out lately on African American women, as far as how they will process leptin. And leptin is an important hormone that controls hunger and can turn it off when you're full, or when you don't need to consume more calories. And so this is, I would say, a new and emerging field in nutrition science that they're looking at, that there is some sort of genetic difference with leptin production in African American women. And so it can be more challenging. It can be harder for them to lose weight. But also from there, I'm going to say one more thing. Our BMI system, our BMI charts, the body mass index, those are, I'm excited about this. They're looking at, and some have been created, different BMI charts for different ethnicities, for Hispanics and for African Americans. It turns out their BMI can be higher before having a significant risk for some of these diseases than Caucasians. And then Asians would actually be lower. And so I think as the public is getting knowledge of that, know, Jackie and I talked about it, she said, well, why does it matter that the BMI charts might not be accurate? And I said, well, it matters for everything, because that's how a doctor diagnoses. But
yes, that's huge.
Yeah, it affects insurance rates. It affects, like, if you're getting life insurance, what your projected lifespan is. And if the BMI charts were created around Caucasians, which they primarily were, it puts African Americans at a disadvantage because those numbers will appear to
skewed.
Be more negative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In a much negative way, but then again, I guess it depends upon the person's body, because if I get my BMI results on my paperwork, then I can also look at my own gut and say whether it matches what that particular chart is saying. So I think that's giving fair balance here. All of the numbers aren't so off, if that makes sense. So it should be that it's close, but maybe close, but not close enough. But it shouldn't be that it's like a 20, 30, 40 point difference in the BMI either.
Right.
And that means it's just a problem for that person, regardless of what's happening.
Yeah. And it can still be a problem. And so that's where the leptin issue comes in, of whether it's even harder to achieve a healthier weight. But African Americans have a different body structure than Caucasians. They have higher bone density, higher skeletal weight. And this is a blessing. When we go through menopause, what troubles Caucasian women is low bone density. And Jackie will probably not have to worry about that, because she had a higher skeletal weight and bone density to begin with. So it doesn't plague African Americans like it does Caucasians. And so just understanding our physical our physical differences, I think goes a long way to creating change in the medical community too.
I think that's very enlightening. And I was looking here online, and it's saying that this hormone is released, the leptin is released from fat cells into adipose tissues, and it signals the brain in particular to an area that but it still doesn't affect necessarily the food intake from a meal, but instead it acts as a way to alter the food intake based on everything what you're saying here, which broke it down nicely.
Yeah. So what we talk about in our book is that it's specifically African American women, not so much men, which is interesting. They're finding this higher leptin concentrations. And what it does, it leads to overeating. It triggers hunger. And then it leads to excess fat storage when she does eat. And what that means is that the brain receptors are becoming resistant to it, and they can't quite figure out why, but there is an acknowledgement that African American women specifically do have this difference, and so they need more tools and more ideas on how to achieve a healthy weight. Because you're right, it is important to be close to that range.
So in the book, African American Nutrition, learning how to use nutrition to your advantage and reclaim power over your health, Katherine speaks about this and many other topics that's going to be extremely beneficial to you, especially in the African American community. How do they get a copy of this book?
They can go to our website, aanutritionclass.com. And there they can order the book. They can say, hey, I want to be part of the movement to share this in my community. You can you can purchase the curriculum. It's ready to go, turnkey, so that someone could teach the classes in their community. And then you can find other classes that Jackie and Terry and some others are teaching around here in Dallas-Fort Worth. So it's all on aanutritionclass.com.
So this is also a turnkey program that you're going to be able to, in your own local community, grab hold, as my grandma would say, grab hold to this information and be able to start rolling it out in your own local chapters, if you say that, if you want to call it a chapter. But it's already prepared for you, the guide, the information, right at aanutritionclass.com. So if you're hearing this information and you think it'll be beneficial to your local area, definitely visit that and learn how you can become certified through their program. This is excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent information.
Yeah. We're all about getting the information to the people. You know, if the people won't come to you, go to the people.
Yeah, I'm excited about what I'm hearing now. Jackie, when we come back, I'd love to hear from you about how is it that you, with this particular mission, what did it do for you personally? Because it's one thing to be asked to do a project, take it on, embrace it, and then start rolling it out. But that's more like a remote job type of thing or whatever. It's a project. But you took it on at a different level and it impacted you personally. So when we come back right after this commercial break, hearing from Silver Shield Security, then we're going to learn more about Jackie's personal journey. We'll be right back.
I have peace of mind with Silver Shield Security, which has been protecting my family and home, along with servicing the Carolinas for over a decade. Silver Shield Security knows the importance of convenience and safety. Whether you live in an apartment, a home, or run a business, they are here to protect you from unwanted intrusions and fires. Call now at 704-440-4688 or visit the website at www.silvershield-security.com. You can use my promo code #ToneX and get 1/2 off your installation price. Don't forget to ask about the new no money down options. Let Silver Shield Security help to give you peace of mind, just like me and my family, and keep your business safe.
All right, everyone, we're back and we are talking with Jacquelyne Samuels and Katherine Lawrence about the importance of nutrition, especially these free resources that are available to the African American community. So Jacquelyne, talk to us about your personal journey and how this impacted you.
Oh, how much time do we have, Kim?
We got plenty. So go ahead and say some stuff.
So I think I mentioned earlier that in my own personal life, heart disease and high blood pressure is a major issue on both sides of my family, maternal and paternal, right? So of course, I just had this false sense that, you know, this is just something that we're supposed to live with, right?
Right.
At the age of 40, and this is another thing, guys, be careful what you allow to enter your ear gates, okay? Because sometimes it will catapult you in a direction that wasn't meant for you to take. And what I mean by that, in my 20s, I was told to expect everything to start breaking down at 30, right? And at age 29, I cried. It was a horrible age for me because I knew it was the last of my 20s. But what was embedded in my mind was that my life was supposed to start crumbling at the age of 30. But I say that to say, at 39, 3 months from turning 40, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. My blood pressure was 170 over 100 when it was taken this particular day. I went to see my gynecologist, and for the 20 years of my adult life, I always had a clean bill of health. But for some reason, this particular year, May of 2001, I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. I didn't have a medical doctor, so my gynecologist recommended one. I go to the new medical doctor,
Wow.
and when you go to a new doctor, guys, the first thing you have to do is fill out your little family history.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had to answer the questions, and pretty much everybody in my family had high blood pressure, from parents to grandparents, siblings, cousins, the whole gamut.
Right.
So when the doctor finally came into the room to see me, she just looked at the paperwork and she says, "Okay, I'm going to write you this prescription." I'm like, "Ma'am, where is the blood pressure cup? Can you please take my blood pressure?" But
Again.
right. Well, see, her nurse did it, right? But
Mhm.
I guess she was just going off of that. So she gave me a prescription. Kim, I threw the prescription away before I left the office. Okay, I was just righteously indignant. I'm
not dealing with this.
doing it. I'm not taking any medication.
Do not receive this.
Right. So, but in my defense, I knew I had to do something different. So I came completely out of fast foods. I started exercising, which I hate, and hate is a strong emotion, but I mean it with every fiber of my being. I hate to exercise, but I committed to walking. I said, I'm going to walk 6 miles a week, whether I do it all in one day or in the 7 days, but I committed to that. I did not go back to see my doctor, my gynecologist, until a year later.
Okay.
I thought I was at my healthiest weight. I'd gone down a couple of dress sizes at that particular time, and I get there, they check my blood pressure. I'm 170 over 100.
Ah.
Yeah.
Now
So
I knew that threw you off, because you knew you were doing everything right.
I knew it, right.
Oh.
And so, but I did my research, and the word blood is in blood pressure, and they're going to try to tell me that I have high blood pressure because my daddy had it, and it's not even in the blood, and I was just going off. And my doctor, she sat there patiently and she said, "Jackie, you're right. It's not a blood disease."
No.
She says, "But it is a genetic disease."
Mm.
When taken out of my cell, I waved my white flag. I said, "Okay, give me the prescription. I'll start taking it." I thought I had no choice, right?
Right.
One pill at one level, they increased the dosage of that one pill after a few months, and then that increased dosage turned into a second pill after another few months. The blood pressure would not come down. I was on my way to a third pill, and then I had an epiphany. It's a gene. It's a gene. Where was it for 40 years? I didn't eat it.
Right.
It was a part of my genetic makeup when I was in my mama's womb.
Right.
So where was it for 40 years? And I thought, Jackie, something about your actions, your lifestyle, and your eating habits gave life to something that had always been inside of you.
Yeah.
If that's true, and I believe it to be, if it's true, then something about my lifestyle and my eating habits can put that baby back to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get rid of the gene, Kim.
That's good. You preaching right there now, Jackie.
I can't get rid of the control that gene had on my life. So
good point.
Fast forward some years. I went to have my colonoscopy this past September the 13th. I feel like the Temptations. You know that song? It was a day in September.
Yeah. That day you'll always remember.
Always. Now I'm going to remember your colonoscopy date.
But it was September 13th. And I'm sitting there, and the young man comes and he takes my blood pressure. And I always brag that my blood pressure is truly the silent killer, because I never had symptoms of it.
Right. So it was asymptomatic, which doesn't.
Absolutely. So he takes my blood pressure, and at that particular time, it was 185 over 115.
Okay.
I know.
That's a lot.
Kim,
that's dangerous.
You're near death. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen at that point.
And to this moment, I don't know why I didn't say, "Listen, let's do this another day." But I clearly thought they would have said, "Let's do this another day," but they didn't.
So you still went forward with the colonoscopy?
Still went forward, but can I tell you that I started making phone calls. Do you have my sister's number?
Mhm.
If something happens to me, please get it. I didn't know if I was going to come out of that procedure alive,
Right,
right?
right.
So I did, praise God, I did. I called Katherine on that day and I told her what was going on. And she says, Jackie, she says, the medication is not going to help you. She says, you're going, she said, will you not go out to eat for 2 weeks? Oh, I could do that because I didn't really eat out that much anyway.
Right.
Eating is not my thing. It's
That
eating.
wasn't the problem for you.
It wasn't the problem. It was,
Right.
but eating more of the good stuff was the problem.
Okay.
I wasn't doing that enough, right?
And that goes back to training our minds and having coaches and people helping us along that process to just think differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But Kim, guys, can I tell you that I went to bed every night for weeks, not knowing if I was going to wake up the next morning. My rested blood pressure for weeks. And I started taking the medication. I'm like, you know what, Katie, I know what she said, but I'm taking this medication because I need this stuff to come down, right? I need,
right, because you're nervous. Right.
Right. But my rested blood pressure for weeks was 170 over 100. And I know that's the magic number, but that's my number. It just stayed there.
Right.
Then I finally, on January the 28th, I decided, you know what, Jackie, you need to just go in full force on more plant foods.
Okay.
Right. I have a Cajun background. My mother grew up and was raised in southern Louisiana, and then I have the soul food background. So my father was northern Louisiana. So food and lots of it, and meats and butter and
just all that stuff, right?
All that good, cheese, all that, the stuff that just makes me really think about home, right? That's an innate part of me. But at this point, it's like my back is against the wall, and when you don't know if you're going to wake up, when you don't know if
do something different,
you have to make a change. And so I decided, you know what, I am going to just go full force on more plants in my diet. And now when I say something like that, Kim, the first thing someone will say to me is that, are you telling me that I'm going to have to give up everything that I love? Are you trying to change my life?
Not at all.
And my response is, no, I'm not trying to change your life, but I am trying to change your life.
Right. But everybody is, what works for you works for you. What works for somebody else may be totally different. So it's no condemnation or judgment. It's just some solutions that can help your life be better. That's good.
Right. We kind of lost you a little bit. Yeah. So I knew that. So eating more plants lowers my cholesterol. Eating more plants lowers your blood pressure. And so I started searching what's specific, to my concerns at that particular time. And you know what? I learned that even though you research for something specific, it's going to address other areas.
Yeah.
And
everything will come into alignment better.
Absolutely. So I can tell you that since January the 28th to now, my blood pressure has remained at 120, 119, over 77. And I can't deny it. And this is what I teach. I use the 80-20 rule. Okay. You have to start somewhere. So my goal is to eat healthy 80% of the time, yes, and then leave that 20% for the stuff that I love. Okay,
good.
Tell me that I can never have peach cobbler again. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to find a peach cobbler everywhere I go, because you're telling me I can't have it again. Right? It defeats the purpose. But what I found is that because I live in 80, when I step over to the 20, I don't overindulge.
Right.
I can just get a spoonful or two, and I'm good. I'm good. Why? Because my body is now accustomed to the 80%. What am I saying? Long and short, guys, is that you can retrain what your body will receive and how you receive it if you first change your mind.
That's
right.
Good.
Change your mind first and be willing to unlearn. We're all about learning. Well, let's start with unlearning some things so that it can make some room for the new things that we're going to learn.
I love it. Now, I know we heard from her African-American perspective and how it actually helped her personally, Katherine, on her journey. Jacquelyne, I would love to hear from you, being Caucasian and doing all of the research and the science behind everything that you've learned along your journey, how has working with Jacquelyne and learning more about the African American community kind of humbled you in your experience through research and stuff? So when we come back after this commercial break, I'd love to hear your perspective on things. And I do have a question that came in from Toya Bailey, and I want to see if we can get that answered. How do you turn that off? What is that, though? I don't know what that is.
I think she means the genetic difference.
Oh, how do you turn that genetic difference off?
Right. I can answer that too when we come back if you'd like.
Okay, yes. So right after this commercial break, Toya, we're going to hear the answer to your question, and we're going to hear from Katherine's perspective on how she's been humbled in learning more about her research. We'll be right back to hear more from Confidence Tones. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Confidence Tones, where we use a proprietary audio development formula called audio immersion to provide an experience that's designed to help quickly and effortlessly generate positive change in the subconscious mind when used correctly. This experience is achieved using 4 primary building blocks: brainwave modulation, invocation of positive emotions, immersive imagination stimuli, and developmental suggestion. We know of no other source in the world that provides the synergistic combination. With a good pair of headphones, you'll be able to immerse yourself into audio that's designed specifically to help you feel better, do better, and live better.
We are back. And listen, Confidence Tones, if you want to learn more about how they work and how to get them, you can go to visit definitelyconfidencetones.com, but you can also call Dr. Jody Bear at 800-820-0584 or visit her website at drjod.com. All right, that's one of our episode sponsors, and we want to thank them. We want to also thank Silver Shield Security. That's silvershield-security.com. There's no contract needed to have security in your home. Make sure you let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show sent you their way. And also thank attorney Charles Everidge with Hunter Everidge Law Firm. They're in the Virginia area, Richmond, Virginia. They're also in the Carolinas and Alabama. So let them know that we sent you over if you're dealing with disability or workers' comp or wrongful death of a loved one. We're back and we're talking with Jacquelyne Samuels and Katherine Lawrence. Let's address Toya Bailey's question first. How do you turn that whole gene thing off?
Okay, and that ties into another question about what do I need to eat. So what we educate on in our classes as far as turning it off is a couple of key things. So one would be increasing fiber. We need to get to, research shows we need at least 40 grams of fiber a day, and most Americans only get about 10 grams. So look at where you can get more beans. Fiber is only found in plant foods. So look at where you can get more of those, because that's going to help to naturally remove excess cholesterol, and it brings down blood pressure. Also, I want to read from the book. There's some specific plant foods that are potassium rich. The reason that's important is because potassium rich foods, they actually relax the blood vessels and they encourage sodium excretion through the urine. So they help the kidneys to release that. And that would be like beans, lentils, potatoes, broccoli, spinach, beets, avocado, red cabbage, bananas, cantaloupe, even almonds. Those are going to help to naturally lower blood pressure. And then also look at how much oil you're using to cook, because that's a little bit here and there. If someone adds a tablespoon to each of their meals a day, that ends up an extra 18 pounds at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of people don't realize how much fat they're eating. And so if we're acknowledging this possible difference with leptin concentrations with African American women, then it would be especially important for them to try to remove or reduce oil in their diet. And most of that, like Jackie said, it comes from eating out at restaurants and fast food and processed stuff. Yes. And then not using it at home, and then increasing fiber and those potassium rich foods, because that fiber is going to help her fill up faster.
Absolutely.
And that actually will have the opposite effect of the leptin. So fiber is really important for telling our body, okay, we're full, and fiber comes in foods that are naturally low in fat. So that those are some of the key things.
That's really good. And somebody should type that in the comments section, like 40 grams of
40 fiber.
Fiber, 40 grams of fiber daily is what a minimum goal should be. And that's really good. And Toya Bailey said, thank you so much for your answer. Cherie said yes to everything you all are saying. Toya also said, I was told to use avocado or coconut oil. Is that good to use?
I would recommend going for the whole food instead. Instead of avocado oil, that's just 100% fat. I would go for the avocado. So you get the fiber and protein. Most of the nutrients in a plant food are attached to that fiber. So anytime the fiber is removed, like to make a juice or something, you're losing a lot of the nutrients. So my preference would be for you not to add any oil if this is something you're struggling with, and just get the avocado so you get more fiber, and really focus on beans.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And Vanita said, what are the best things to eat and drink to help control high blood pressure?
Okay. So that's the potassium rich foods that I mentioned. Not having added oils, increasing fiber. And this is going to be an uncomfortable one. Looking at dairy consumption. There are.
Now you don't went too far. I got to have ice cream.
Put on your seatbelt, everybody. Put on your seatbelt.
I was like, see, we were smooth down. We were doing good.
Like, don't leave us. Stay with us. Stay with us.
Okay, go ahead. Now you done mess with my ice cream. Go ahead, Katherine.
Okay.
And your macaroni and cheese.
All of it.
I love mac and cheese. I just make it. We have a healthier version in this book.
Okay, good. Get the book, y'all. Get the book.
Just looking at it though, because it's got cholesterol, it has saturated fat, especially when you get into the concentrated forms like cheese and ice cream. Right. But also it comes with a lot of hormones, and it changes our hormones. One of my passions is cancer. African American women have an astronomically high mortality rate from especially uterine cancers, like reproductive cancers, breast, uterine, ovarian, very, very high mortality rate, which is devastating. And these are all linked to dairy consumption and saturated fat and lack of fiber. So what one of your guests mentioned earlier, doing one thing to address the high blood pressure will also benefit us in a lot of other ways.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You should tell the story about the cow's milk.
About the cow. I don't know if they
And Habits for Health said, this is awesome, great health information. And Dennis said, so conditioning over time may build up a tolerance within the system, or would it be better to choose a substance? I was in the middle of reading that. I don't know where it went. Okay. Choice to substitute salt in general.
It would be a better choice to try to, the majority of salt in the diet comes from eating out and processed foods. So if you can minimize those, you'll see a big difference. And I'm talking 5 to 6 times more sodium than you would make in that exact same meal at home. So cooking at home would be a really big influence, but also anytime you can minimize salt. And if you're freezing food, the flavor of salt dies in the freezer, but the sodium doesn't. And so if you're right, so if
I didn't know that.
So that's why these TV dinners, they're so high in sodium, because they've got to add about 3 or 4 times as much as they need so that some survives the freeze. And then what happens, Kim? And then it's bland, so we put more salt on it. Yeah. So if you're meal prepping, cooking ahead, you don't want to salt your food before you freeze it. Anything that you can cook at home, or just using whole foods, you're not going to get all this processing where sodium is added. Preferably, as Jackie mentioned, your taste buds change, your cravings change. And so you'll see, and that Jackie has noticed this, we've talked about it, as she's reduced her sodium intake, her sensitivity to salt is so much stronger. So it doesn't take as much salt to taste salty to her. And that's the ultimate goal, to really enjoy the food. So you've got to give your taste buds a couple weeks to change. And you won't need as much salt to enjoy it.
Okay, 2 things. Tell the cow story and tell how all of this has impacted your research. Go ahead.
Please tell a cow story.
About the
cow
Please
farm.
tell the cow story. Jacquelyne wants us to hear.
Are you talking about like the morphine and the addiction?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Eating his hormones.
Oh, okay. So where does milk come from? It comes from a lactating mammal, right?
Right.
As women, we can only produce breast milk when we're pregnant or we just had a baby.
Right.
And we know, just think about our own experience. When a woman is pregnant, she's swimming in estrogen, right?
Correct.
It's so much of it. And so it comes out in our milk. Same thing happens with a cow swimming in estrogen because it just had a baby or is still pregnant. And so we're getting massive amounts of estrogen.
Right.
And then this thing comes. And so what happens is that we eat this reproductive excretion from a different mammal. And so we're getting all of this estrogen. And most, oh my gosh.
What's
Are we still on? Okay, sorry about that. Our screen went blank. And most
I'm like, what's going on? But I was just going to go to commercial break, so no big deal.
Okay. Most American women have way too much. We're in estrogen dominance. And this is all of our reproductive issues, fibroids, cysts, PCO, all that, infertility, everything. And so what comes out in that breast milk is called casomorphine. And it's because when we have a baby, without formula before those days, the only way that baby survives is if it latches, right? Same thing with a cow. And so we all produce this little bit of morphine that makes the baby high when it comes to the breast. And so I find people have the strongest reaction when we talk about maybe reducing cheese because it's a concentrated source of this casomorphine. Like we get a little bit high when we eat it. And because that's what makes the baby cow come to the mother to nurse. It's the same with our design. So if we think about dairy products, it's way too many hormones, plus the hormones are already given, the growth hormones, and that affects how our body performs. And about 80% of African Americans are actually lactose intolerant, and they don't recognize it. They don't recognize the symptoms, the GI discomfort that comes with eat dairy.
No, you know what? Now, seriously, if you know you black, I'm probably shouldn't say, but it's kind of a silly joke. But you're African American when you consider dairy as your colon cleanse.
Oh, your colon
cleanse? Oh my God! Yeah, because it sends you to the bathroom.
Because you said actually, pay me no mind. Go ahead, guys. But it's because sometimes, a lot of times, because of the lactose intolerance, right?
Yeah.
Then some Africans. I'm not talking about some other people. I'm just talking about me. Okay. Sometimes, whenever I eat ice cream, I'm not talking about you guys. This is Kim Jacobs, my own personal thing. Okay. Put up the comment, Mackenzie. The views expressed are the views expressed by me individually or by my individual guests, but not necessarily reflective of the show and that we're doing any medical information or anything like that. But I'm just saying, seriously, if I eat some ice cream sometimes, then I may find that I'm going to the restroom and I'm like, oh, well, in a way, I try to justify and say, hey, it actually helped me get some things out of my system.
Yeah, that's a sign of your body not being able to process that very well. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep it focused. What about the research? Go ahead. I'm doing too much.
You asked earlier what had humbled me with this. So I'll say in the beginning, I've been teaching nutrition for 15 years now, and I think that I had some naivety and ignorance. I assumed that all nutrition research and recommendations applies to everybody. So I was going through a refresher program with Stanford, and I saw this little tiny footnote about, it was like tiny asterisks, vitamin D recommendations would be different for African Americans. And I thought, this is the first time I've seen this ever. And I started digging into it. And then I was learning about cancer rates and blood pressure differences. And it opened my eyes to so much. I realized that one, I had made assumptions that nutrition is the same for everybody. And the common threads are the same, but different things are more effective for different cultures. But also I recognize this glaring lack of nutrition research on the African American community. There's just not enough research to support these differences and exploring those. And so that was humbling to me. And then I really understood what institution. I think for the first time, you can read about it, but I really had to get into the science and I understood how there's institutional racism in the medical community, and it's not always intentional. I'm not saying that. I'm saying differences, a lack of understanding. Like, I want to give you 2 examples if I can. Blood pressure medication should be prescribed differently for African Americans, we know, than for a Caucasian. And many doctors are not aware of this. And they're prescribing like the same type of blood pressure protocol. But we know that African Americans, they respond better to diuretic type water pills. And also calcium channel blockers are more effective for that community than for Asians or Caucasians, for example. So that was one difference. Another one is, do all OBGYNs know that African American women have a shorter cervical length? It's about 27% shorter. That's extraordinary when you consider that is huge. And what that means for a doctor to know that means that an African American woman is at much higher risk of preterm birth. And what happens with premature babies? The lungs are the last thing to develop. And so what cascades down from there? Higher rates of asthma, higher rates of SIDS, astronomically higher rates of lung cancer later, even though smoking rates are dropping. And so this all can stem from a woman's cervical length. And so
that's so important.
I think it opened my eyes to how in depth this goes. And I could go on about BMI and things like that, and how many changes need to be made, but along with research specific to this community. And I thought to myself, does Jackie know? Does Jackie know that her risk of cervical cancer is 9 times higher than mine? You know, does Terry know?
I didn't know that. Did you know it, Jacquelyne?
I did not until recently.
Not until she tells you. I'm so grateful you're here.
It sent me on a personal mission. Does Terry know about blood pressure and how maybe she needs to be more careful with salt than I do? And all these women that I know and love and care about, this information they didn't know, which tells me their doctors might not have known. And where I've learned from Jackie that a lot of health information in the African American community comes through the church. Right. And that's a huge part of education on health. And so maybe this is something that we need to get into the churches to empower men and women.
Absolutely.
But there are specific risks for African American women that are very, very concerning, and I think need a lot more attention.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is so enlightening. Everything that you all are sharing here today. I want to pop this QR code up and tell them, when you scan the QR code, what's going to be the information that they'll get, Jack.
So that you'll get contact information from me. So I am a certified nutritionist. I am available to teach these classes locally, and I'm even willing, with some conversation, to travel to other areas. So if you would like to bring this class, and maybe you just want me to come in and help you get it started so that you can teach it in your own communities, then I'm available to do that as well.
I am so excited about that. And then who are these people to you? I want to pop them up.
Mama.
So now you want to make me cry. So to the left of the screen, that's my grandmother. And to the right of the screen, that's my mom. Yeah. Happy Mother's Day. So my grandmother's no longer with us. She passed away from Alzheimer's in 2008. My mom is epileptic. She had aneurysm surgery back in 91. And it's one of those things. That's why I keep saying, we need to just do some study and get into what is the root causes of things, because of her surgery for years, we thought that was just her demise, that this is just the way she'll be the rest of her life.
It was going to be.
Yeah, seizures and things of that sort. But I now know that food would actually help prevent what medicine has not been able to do for decades. But can I tell you that sweet little lady right there gives me the blues about trying to eat healthy? I love her to death. But yeah, happy Mother's Day, Mom. Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to end, the episodes without just putting a couple of things up here. I did see too that you've lost significant weight, Jacquelyne, and so I have found, I think, a picture. Please tell me, I may be wrong.
Look at that.
Picture
So
of you. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm not 142 anymore. So I'm like right at 154. But yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. You look
But
amazing.
well, thank you. But I want I want everyone to know that eating healthy is not necessarily, and it shouldn't be your focus about just losing weight. Your focus should be becoming healthy. And if you focus on one thing, there's a deluge of benefits that will come along with that, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that if we just focus on a certain size or a certain weight, that keeps us topsy turvy all the time. We're always up and down, and we can never get to a plateau. But if my focus is that I want to keep my blood pressure down, that I want to do the things to prevent Alzheimer's, because there's a propensity that I have that gene, that I want to do the things that I need to do to prevent diabetes, because my paternal grandmother, she passed away with the diabetes, so she
Right.
called it the sugar. Kim, you heard of it, the
Yeah,
sugar?
just a little bit of sugar. I had Mother Love on my show one time. She said she's half the size because she cut down just a little bit of the sugar. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the biggest takeaway, everyone, is that you just need to know that genetically you can be predisposed to it, but the control, you can't. If it has control, it's because you're giving it control. You're giving it.
Wow. I'm really grateful for the information that you all are sharing here today. And I found another picture. I'm thinking that, are you a mommy to these people?
I am, yeah. Before I got healthy, I was diagnosed with infertility and stage 4 reproductive disease and endometriosis. And I was told I would never have kids and I needed a hysterectomy. And thankfully I got connected with a nutritionist who started me on this journey. And these changes that Jackie and I are talking about, this is exactly, they'll change a lot of things in your life, not just your blood pressure, but they reversed all of my reproductive problems. And I went on to have these 3 crazy wild boys.
And what a blessing they are. I was told that I would not have children as well when they removed a portion of my ovary doing a cyst that had gotten so large that was the size of a grapefruit.
Oh.
And they took a portion of my ovary, and when I came awake, they told me I would not be able to bear children. And needless to say, I actually have become the mother of 5 amazing children. And so I have lots of gifts that came out of my body. And I'm super honored to be mom to these individuals. And one of which transitioned from this earth, but he is still smiling from heaven and with us each and every day. So yes, people can say whatever ultimately, but only God has the final stages. Yeah, so we're all on the same page
for that.
And speaking of transformation, this is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month, everyone. And 3 of my children live with this disease. They have been kicking it in the head. So one of my sponsors for this episode is one of my sons, Jeremiah Jacobs, and he helps with websites and things. And I'd love for you to check out his page. He's a digital marketer. He's an actor and an avid fisher. So JeremiahJJacobs.com is his site. My daughter, Jayla, there, she kicks cystic fibrosis in the head as well. And I just wanted to put their pictures up because cystic fibrosis is a disease that's mucus is sticking to their lungs. And there, you talked about salt sensitivity. They have to have excessive amounts of salt so that they can just function and be able to even breathe and have airway clearance and all of those things. But this is my other son that fights cystic fibrosis, and it looks like a nude picture, but since it's nutrition that we're kind of talking about today, he went on his own health journey. And as one of our episode sponsors, MajorPT.com, and he has transformed through nutrition. And that's why I'm going to connect him with you all for sure, because he's transformed through nutrition and has lost over 100 pounds. And he teaches people how to help with their transformations through exercise, but mainly through that nutrition. So I'm going to have him connect for your course and become maybe one of the spokespeople or advocates because
yeah, he could teach it. That'll be amazing.
Teach it.
I bet he commands a lot of authority with sharing his story. So powerful.
Yes, so many parents and people that have diseases and different things and disabilities, they reach out to him for inspiration, and he's helped raise over $2.2 million with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation because he fights that disease himself. So anyway, I have one more picture here I wanted to pop up.
I just want to say too, I love the entrepreneurial spirit that you've instilled in your children. Like, I love it. I love it. They're all out building their own futures.
They are. And he's a student at UNC Charlotte, and he's also dual certified with NASM, National Association of Sports Medicine. So I'm going to connect you all right when we get off, because he would probably love to get the book and have that turnkey system that he could be doing that in his teaching. So that's why I'm saying this today. Okay. All right. I wanted to pop these two last pictures up too. Who is this? I hope it's somebody.
That's my mom. That's
Hi. Wow. You look so much like her over there. I said this has to be
really?
mom.
Thank you. I do want to say she's been battling Parkinson's for 20 years almost, and we've been slowing the progression of that, fighting that, and nutrition makes a big difference for her. You know. Just knowing, I think just when someone realizes, oh, I can have an influence over whatever it is I'm going through, even if I can't get completely rid of it, it matters for quality of life on that journey. So thank you for showing that picture of her.
I didn't know. I said, let me just see him just being a nosy talk show host over here, looking and deep diving. And then I also saw this picture.
So we have 5 kids together, and this is also a boyfriend and a girlfriend. They're going to get mad. We put this up there, but these are our miracles. Without these amazing things that have happened in our life due to food, it would be we wouldn't have all these blessings. And we have 2 young adults that are ours. Cody is 23 and Courtney is 25, and it's exciting to see them making healthy choices for themselves. I think that generation, they think about food differently than we do, and they're more conscious about it and more empowered. So that's probably one of my proudest things, is that my adult kids who can choose what they eat still choose well.
That's good. And I'll put this picture only because it's my mommy up here. And I said, I want to at least show my mom. Sometimes I don't get a chance to show her. And I am so honored to have my mommy here as well. She is so beautiful and so
young.
Is that mom right there?
That's my mom. Yeah, that's my mom.
I thought that one was you, the last one.
Yeah, and then she's fun and just a great overall mom. My kids were like, Grandma, you might want to get out of that car. It's going to go fast.
Wow.
And just in getting prepared for Mother's Day, I just want to say I believe I have the best mom in the world. I'm sure we all feel that way. Absolutely. And I'm honored. All right, y'all, we have been on for a while and I've had a great time. I know it's time to close it out. I don't want to go. But how do people join this movement? Because I think it's a movement. How do they join it?
Yes. They can go to aanutritionclass.com. And that's where you can find the book. But if you really want to join the movement and make a change, follow what Jackie's doing, become an instructor, get the curriculum so you can just pour into your community. So that's all on aanutritionclass.com. And I think connecting with Jackie too, she's a master at delivering this. It's very sensitive. It's sensitive information, especially when we talk about people's food. And so she has some amazing insights to share, which are also shared on that page when people sign up to teach the curriculum. We show an example of Jackie teaching the class. So it's very easy. It's very easy. People, and they want to know. They're seeking out nutrition information now.
Yeah.
So,
and you all screenshot this QR code. Let me remove this so you can get the full image. And that's going to take you to Jackie's page directly. So just screenshot that, let it take you right over to her page so you can stay connected with her directly, and make sure you all get a copy of the book. You have it over there in your possession. Just put it up, flap it around for a second while I go back and grab it. Yes, African American Nutrition. It's very specific to African Americans. Anybody can benefit from it. but definitely geared towards African Americans. African American nutrition. Learn how to use nutrition to your advantage finally, and reclaim power over your health. This is a book by Katherine Lawrence. Will it get autographed if they reach out to you and get a copy?
That website comes through the publisher. But if they want to message us on that website, we can just send one from us. I'm happy to autograph it, and Jackie too, of course.
Yay. Well, this has been incredible. I do want to let you all know tomorrow and Friday, we have some amazing guests coming on as well. And one of which is going to be a mom of cystic fibrosis daughter. And she battles that disease. Her name is Rebecca Lewis. She will be on tomorrow to share their incredible story of how Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month is here, but how she deals with it as a cystic fibrosis mom. I'm going to be sharing some information about me and my 3 children as well. And on Friday, a tribute to all the moms. We have a mental health specialist that's going to come on, Natasha Halliday. We have Rita Garnto, who's going to come on and share some self-care tips for you moms on how you can be a little more balanced in your life. And we have our sunshine expert, Athena Robertson. She's going to be talking about some joy that moms can experience during this Mother's Day time. So I am excited that you all took the time to be here today. You have blessed us tremendously.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
Yeah.
And if you all enjoy programming like this, the only way we can continue to thrive. And thank you, Dr. Paulette Harper. You poured into the Kim Jacobs Show yesterday. We don't take it for granted. And any of you all that donate, it helps with the production and everything that we're doing to keep the program thriving 5 days a week, every weekday. So please make sure that you all donate to the Kim Jacobs Show. Cash App, $ Kim Jacobs Inc., PayPal.me/Kim Jacobs Inc., or you can go to Venmo at The Kim Jacobs Show and even become a Patreon member, patreon.com/The Kim Jacobs Show. We stream on iHeartRadio, Spotify, SoundCloud, all of those audio podcasts too. So that's why I like to say it out loud, since I know you're not seeing the screen. Thank you all for the information. My mom said, I believe it's going to help us a lot. This has been a great show.
Thanks, Mama.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, any other comments? We're going to get ready to close out. Let's put some final comments up and we'll close out.
Well, I think that all of us can use nutrition to overcome many of our genetic differences and live a vibrant and thriving life.
Mm-hmm. And health is certainly a choice, guys. It's a choice, but it has not been a priority. So that's what I'd like to say. Let's make health a priority as we go about our daily lives choosing.
You all should be doing this on CNN and around the world. So I'm amazed at how great this information was today. Thank you for joining us. And thank you all in the virtual studio audience and all of you in the whole world. We love you guys. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Kim Jacobs Show and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look